the team buildings, it's nature.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what are they going to be telling me? You know, I know this place back to front, and I don't like Barry. You know, but you guys are from a military background. So what and I don't know a lot about your military background, but I do know the way you run things is you brief. You every time, like, it has this great process, and it gives off this. It's completely different, and I think that's what catches the people you're training out with. Yeah, they go, hang on, these guys are kind of different. They're sort of there's some sort of there's some sort of extra weight to this team building, because we've been in Melbourne working with Sabre, and seen another team building team go from a different company in Melbourne doing an amazing race type thing, go flying past us, and they're all like, yay, you know, and wearing camos and running the other way. And I don't know, you guys maybe can't get won't get the chance to actually see how different it is.
No, I guess
that's
the advantage I'd say, Drew, is that we were in the military long enough in our late teens and early 20s, both of us, to get the benefits of the leadership training and the insights and some of the groundedness that comes with it, that, you know, you can't put it this way. The instructors and troops have bullshit detectors that are fairly accurate and fairly acute, so you've got to be yourself, and your own strengths and weaknesses will become apparent pretty quickly. But we weren't 10, 20-year career type people. You know, we weren't chicken strangling special forces or anything like that. We were lucky the officer training we went through was incredibly valuable, but we weren't in the military so long that we couldn't kind of apply that quickly and in a kind of a non-threatening, exactly, and in a kind of a humorous way to civilians, because we transitioned from doing military type stuff, doing military advising, to film and television, where we teach actors on things like the Mission Impossible TV series, not the films, but late 80s, early 90s, when they were being filmed in Queensland and stuff like that. So we were fortunate that initially we were quite military in our orientation with our corporate training, but because we got exposure to the film and television industry, we learned quickly how to introduce some theatricality and fun, lighten it up. So yeah, the military stuff's been good for us, but we're lucky also that it's not been the total frame or lens that we look at it through.
Well, how many years have you been doing it then?
Oh man,
that's what I mean.
Yeah, well, see, I guess
that's why it blows me out that you still brief and debrief. And, and this format, it kind of this cool feeling when you work in a Sabre thing, because, you know, I could tell you absolutely no companies that debrief or anything. Their only system would be do a quote, there's the job, you know, and we ballsed it up. We'll fix it up next time, Jono, you know.
We still balls things up. Just we like to learn from it, so we don't do it again.
You know what I'm saying.
And that comes back with that combination, but being organised and making sure, you know, there's two things. When you're working with a group of 600 people, you know, people say, how do you organise 600 people? Well, I don't. I organise 6 people who then organise another 10, and then they organise whatever that is. So it's that I've only got to organise 6, and then you've got to go and organise 10. So that breaks it down. It makes it heaps easier. Yeah. But on what Tal was saying about the military before, years ago we did an event out at the Blue Mountains at Lura, and this
my
particular
mum was
group,
born there.
Was she?
No, lived at high school. Keep going.
Lura's a nice place.
I don't remember it. But it was a well-known company who were a very high-powered sales group, and they'd had a couple of team-building companies before us. And Tal's done the introduction. There was a lot of us. And I've got my team, and they've gone, we made our last facilitator cry. It's like, oh, well, you're going to have to work hard to make me cry. You know, it was that whole idea of them setting out to ruin our day because they didn't want to do the team building. By the end of it, they loved it, and they were, you know, when we went back to them the next year, they're like, yeah, come back, come there.
It's just pragmatism. For them, it was like team building sucks, therefore we'll sabotage it.
But what I was going to is that the most important thing is that people need to like you. You know, they don't have to love you, but you've got to go in and grab their attention. And, you know, if you go into a room and say, hey, we're going to do team building, people will kill you in the rush to get to the door. So when you go in, you've got to engage them straight away, and they've got to look at you and decide not to make your life hard. They've got to decide to go along with the program.
Yeah,
and so
and think of how complex that is.
Yeah,
well, Megs, especially when it's a lady too, because think of it.
Well, are we going in the gender path here?
Well, no, I keep noticing this because we've had in my band, my little cover band, this little side second job.
And it rocks too, by the way.
There's a fine line see, ladies are different. And I'm not professing to know anything or get deep.
About girls.
But if you're standing there as a lady running a team builder thing in front of a room full of men and women, you definitely have to work hard to get everyone to... There's no... Well, look at us, Tal. We're blokes, we can just get louder. Right!
Well,
and put on the charm here and there.
with men doing manly things, Drew.
Possibly.
You
I
don't
don't
want to
know.
end up sounding like a fishwife.
I don't know. I think
I'd take one look at your beard, Drew, and I'd take you very seriously.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that is... You're right, because when you're doing it as a girl, if you start yelling too much, you sound like a fishwife, or you start screeching, you know, and so it is a fine line, and I hate to say it, but... the military thing did help because you can give orders and give them like you expect them to be followed. And that's the big thing with giving an order. And not that we give orders, but if you say something and you expect it to be followed, people read that and so they do it. If you give it thinking that half the group's not going to follow it, well, guess what? Half the group's not going to do it.
Yeah.
I guess that's the good thing about military leadership training at any level. It looks for people that are going to back themselves and it teaches you, in your teens to, I guess, certainly knocks a lot of the misconceptions about yourself out of yourself, but, definitely teaches you to back yourself. And, it gives you as you mentioned, it gives you very good grounding in briefing others to do things and practical leadership without any of the affectations, without any of the crap that's in leadership books. Yeah. Very practical, common sense. Yeah, just good principles of leadership, and I hope some of that's flowed into our business. And people, as you've just told us, some of it has, but we hope that not enough of it's flowed in to make it seem too militaristic all the time, unless we're running a military-themed event. When we run a military-themed event, then, hey, rock on. You draw on it and you make it happen. But as you know, we do stuff with painting and drumming and all kinds of artistic stuff.
You speak to everyone. That's kind of...
So the funny thing is, when you're doing something that's essentially based on fine art painting, or we do something based in filmmaking, we draw on the military stuff for our briefing and our planning and certainly our debriefing. But, in front of the punters, we hope they're seeing it as a painting or a music event, not a fusion. Yeah, because the military doesn't do a lot of fine art, funnily enough. No? They do these days, I think. But, it's sort of... No, not a lot. Bit of cross-dressing. You know what, in officers' mess, bit of cross-dressing, so the fashion stuff comes in.
I'd imagine that.
Oh, yeah, you'd be right across that as well, mate, wouldn't you? Yeah.
All those greens.
Totally. I mean, you get bored wearing green.
You'd have to.
And you need to clash. You need good set of heels, some off the shoulder.
Do you miss it? Every time we go out to Canungra...
I miss cross-dressing a lot, Drew. Yeah. Oh, sorry, military stuff, yeah.
You ever want to dress?
Sometimes. You miss elements of it. I mean, the funny thing was...
You shaved your beard off.
I have. You only just noticed.
Beards aren't cool all of a sudden.
Been in your studio for 20 minutes
really?
and you've only just noticed that I've shaved.
No, do you miss the military?
Aspects of it. Yeah. I mean, the beauty of it, again, wasn't there long enough or intensely enough for it to become the totality of who I am, if that makes sense. So for me, it was both my grandparents were in the military, so it was kind of a nice thing to indulge the interest, if that makes sense. And it's never exactly what you think it's going to be. So the kind of ideals, the stereotypes that were in my head from what I thought it was were different. So love-hate relationship, loved half of it, hated half of it. Like yourself, the same comments you made about the routine of your job. And if you've got any inclination towards creativity and not being a fan of rules and being told what to do, which is an ironic place to be, the military if you are, I didn't like some of the routine, some of the bureaucracy, some of that stuff, but loved some of the where you were allowed to be creative, which is the tactics and that type of stuff. And, as Meg will attribute to when when we met each other there, there's stuff you enjoy, stuff you don't enjoy, but I miss the challenging aspect of it, I guess. But I don't miss the bureaucracy.
Yeah, no doubt, which would be pretty crazy. But you know what even today, you know what I find in business? Maybe it's just my personality. I love order. Like, I love that brief. I love, and if something bad happens at work, I don't blame anyone apart from the process was wrong because we didn't pick up the mistakes somehow. You can't just go, do 7 of those. Hey, Steve, do 7 of those things. Oh, okay, and he does 5, and then that means that something's wrong. You know, so
and that's how it happens. Like you need that. I hate to sound terrible. Tal will laugh at me, but you need systems. You have to have a system because. When it's busy is when you think you want to throw the systems out, but it's actually when you need them most. You you need to have all those boxes ticked so everybody knows what they're doing.
Why
and you
would
can
Tal
go back and
laugh?
check.
Why?
I'm not necessarily
Yeah,
naturally
yeah.
predisposed to systems, shall we
Right,
say.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm not a
Right,
fan of
he's
routine.
terrible.
Yeah, well, who...
Yeah, not my style. I had, when you're being paid to work within a system and comply to a system and it's part of your job, you're being paid to do it. You won't be promoted if you don't do it. Indeed, you'll probably get somebody killed if you don't do it. Then it's a discipline thing. You just step up to the plate and you do it. But given my free reign, yeah, I prefer, probably not dissimilar to you, mate, in that respect. When you want to be in a creative space, which is predominantly my role in the company, I don't like left and right. I don't like to be put into a situation where I've got to conform. I want to be in free space to come up with new solutions and ideas in that latitude. And systems tend to be the opposite of that,
Well, yeah, this is what sorry, we've cut you off, but I'm the son of a bloke that turned into a millionaire, right? He's that guy. He's that guy that can, no, we're doing this tomorrow, and everyone else has to struggle and create the system behind him, So the older I get, the more I'm starting to realise that you are made. Some people they have that personality, and they are the head of the business, and often they're not system orientated. Often things are a mess, but they have people around them that can see their vision and turn it into that system.
Oh, if you don't have people around you, if you're not inclined towards systems, if you don't have people around you that are, your business won't last a week. That's the reality.
And that's
you've got to have.
His job is not to do the systems. His job is to come up with new ideas and see new avenues and to look at new strategies. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, you don't need part of the system. But that 10th time, when it all hits the fan, that's when it pays off. So it's like a good recipe. It's, you don't have just that, like you've heard me say this 100 times, but you don't have just flour. You need the flour, milk, sugar, eggs. You need that combination. Yeah. So he doesn't need to be, to make a croissant. Or a big globby mess. But, he doesn't need to be across the systems. He doesn't need to implement them. He just needs to know they're there. But we need to have them because when a client comes back and says, you were meant to be here on Sunday, and we're like, we have a little piece of paper that says, and you signed off it saying it was Saturday, you cover yourselves. And that's the back working of anything.
Well, I guess it's also practicing what we preach, Drew. And I mean, you've heard us talk to clients about, it's good lemonade too, by the way, Drew. I didn't know Peroni made lemonade. I'm assuming Ligera means lemonade. It's great lemonade, mate. It's really cool. It's a shandy. Practicing what we preach to the extent that, to quote Belbin, who you've heard us talk a lot about, a really good team model profiling tool out of the UK that we use and we're now distributor for, that nobody's perfect, but a good team can be. Sounds really touchy-feely out of context, but one person is not wise in all moments. We all think differently, we act differently, we operate very differently. So the person that you kind of lean on for the creative, the asymmetric thinking, the satellite thinking, the nutty professor stuff isn't necessarily going to be the person that you want to do the finite detail in organisation. The person who is highly analytical, puts the handbrake on, tells you what you don't want to hear, shoots holes in ideas, is critical, analyses stuff. You don't want them to be the class clown. Everyone's different, and thank God they are. So I guess that's the beauty of the Sabre team, is we've always, people will still rub you up the wrong, no matter how well you know that stuff, humans are humans, you still react emotionally. But no, I think that's good that we do all think differently, mate.
Yeah.
And
how long have you been working at it then? In the 20-something years?
1988 to now. So what's that? 26 odd years.
Too long.
I mean,
do you ever freak out and go, like, how many of your competitors in the team building have actually failed? Like, there'd be 1 million in all those years. But the reason I'm getting to that is because you're teaching companies like ANZ Bank. We did one once in Noosa. There was hundreds of all the banking executives. They reformed In Excess or something for that night, or something like. Noise.
Yeah,
anyway, I can't leave out that. That's probably critical stuff.
That's all right. We can beat that.
But I would bet, that there'd be people going, why are they teaching us we're the best? But you can actually say we've got 26 years of teaching businesses team building history, and we're still doing it. Like, do you ever wake up and go, what do I know?
It's freaking me out now that you pointed it out to me, actually. I'm going to leave here and have a midlife crisis. But I think, funnily enough, many a true thing said in jest, I was talking about before, when I say practice what we preach, not in a sort of a trite kind of, wanky way, but I think we've practiced enough of what we preach